Hey there and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about ProcessWire CMS and how to install it using WampServer. But what exactly is ProcessWire? Well, in simple terms, ProcessWire is a powerful free and open source tool that helps you build and manage websites. So in this video I'm going to show you how to install ProcessWire on your local machine using something called WampServer. Now, WampServer is also a tool that lets you create and test websites on your own computer, on your local machine. Now, even if you're not connected to the internet. Now, WAMP stands for Windows, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Windows because it runs on Windows. There are similar tools as well for Mac and Linux. Apache, which is like a software that directs web traffic to your computer. When someone types in a web address in their web browser, or you can type in an address in your web browser, Apache knows where to redirect and send the user. Basically, you are the user in this case. Now, MySQL stores all the information needed in a database for your website, like text and images, and PHP is like the translator between those two. It helps your computer talk to MySQL and fetch the right information to show on your website. Alright, now to get started, let's go ahead and download WampServer and its dependencies. We can go to wampserver.aviatechno.net. I'm going to put a link in the description as well. If not, you can find it also by Googling it by typing in download WampServer, and you should see like third or fourth result, this one. No, this one right here. So the one with the pink logo. Okay, now before installing WampServer, we have to install its dependencies. So let's scroll down here. We'll find the Microsoft VC packages. We have to install all of those. Let's go ahead and install this one, the 64 and 32 or x86 as well, because WampServer requires both of the packages, whether you're 64 bits or 32 bits. And let's download as well the WampServer, the latest one. In the time of making this video, the latest version is 3.3.2. I'm going to go ahead with the 64 bits for now, but maybe when you're watching this, it's going to be updated, or you might find a different version, but the process is still exactly the same. So let's go ahead and download this WampServer as well and wait for it to download. Alright, so after we have downloaded the files, let's start off with installing the dependencies, which are the redistributable packages. Now we do have to install every single one of those to make WampServer work. So that means that we do have to install them one by one. Now, I actually had installed all of these packages, so that's why you see here repair on my device. But on your computer, you might see something like install or something similar. So we just install it and move on to the next one, and so on until you have installed all of these packages. Now, after I've done that, you can go to WampServer Setup, and we can follow the installation instructions. It's pretty straightforward, but I'm going to help you out through this one as well. Now, in the directory, the destination location, make sure you install it directly into the C drive or your primary partition drive. That will make your life much easier. Now, it's going to say 64, but I'd like to name it just WAMP for easier access. So just in C, WAMP, and hit next. It's going to extract the files and install the WampServer. Okay, so the installer that just finished installing is going to ask us what is the default web browser that we're going to be using once we start testing our web apps or web pages. It's saying here Edge. I don't really like Edge, so I'm going to, it's asking us if we want to choose another browser. So I'm going to hit yes and go to I'm going to choose Google Chrome because that's my favorite web browser. Okay, so we're going with Google Chrome, and it's going to ask us about the default text editor for the configuration files. Those are like the ini files, the ini files, or the .config. I'm going to stick with Notepad. Actually, you can use as well Notepad++ or something different, but I like Notepad because it's really simple. So I'm gonna stick with that. Okay, so right now it's going to give us like a small quick tutorial on how to use it. We just hit next and finish. Now let's see if it started up. It did not start up, so let's start up the WampServer and make sure everything works fine. So start WAMP, and let's go with this one. Okay, it says that all the services has started. Let's test that out by going to our default web browser and type in localhost. Okay, so if you're seeing this page, your WampServer is configured correctly and everything is working as it's supposed to. Alright, after we have made sure that our installation of WampServer went as expected, let's go ahead and install ProcessWire. Now, if we go to C, then WAMP, that is the installation location that we have chosen once we installed the WampServer. It depends, it might be WAMP or WAMP64, but the same thing. Now we do have here the WampServer files. Here is where it's installed. Now you can find as well some instructions for use, some basic instructions on WampServer, and know more about its basic functionality here in the instructions for use PDF. And we do have some installation instructions as well for more documentation, so you can browse those as well. But what we're really concerned about is this www folder right here. So whatever files do we have here, index PHP or HTML or so on, is going to show up when we go to localhost. So basically this page we're seeing right now, it's taken from the www folder. Now here is where we want to put our ProcessWire files or ProcessWire software in the www folder. So before we do that, let's go and make a backup of this one. I usually like to rename it to www-original, so I won't lose it. I might need to go back to it in the future and create another folder and call it www and leave it as empty. Let's open that and go ahead and install ProcessWire right now. To install ProcessWire, we can just Google it, ProcessWire download, or go to processwire.com -download-core. Here we're going to find on processwire.com-download, we're going to find ProcessWire modules and ProShop and some other things. We're concerned with this one, ProcessWire. We need the actual software, and here is going to ask us which version do we want, the master or the dev. The master is updated 2 to 3 times per year, and the dev is updated almost every week. So it's, as they say, they do have much greatest version of ProcessWire. So I like great. Let's go with the dev. Okay, so we have downloaded the dev. Let's go to the downloads folder, and we're supposed to have this file, ProcessWire dev. Now let's open this folder, the ProcessWire, within the zip file, and extract all of its contents to the www folder of the WampServer. Okay, let's close this one and go back to the local host, and if we refresh this page, it's going to give us the welcome message of the ProcessWire 3x installer. Now we can go ahead and get started with the installation. And here with installation profiles, there was in the past, before 3.x, before version 3.x, they usually included installation profiles within ProcessWire, but for some reason the developer said, hey, let's make our users download them separately. I'm not sure why they did that. They said it's about like size issues, but it's not really a big size when it comes to the user profiles. So let's go download one user profile, because we do have none here. We just have this blank option, which is completely useless in my opinion. So let's go to the site profiles by clicking on this link, download another site profile on the installation page. And we do have here multiple user profiles. I recommend going with the regular site profile or the default profile beginner edition. So let's go ahead with the regular site profile here and download that. Okay, now we do have it here in the downloads folder. We do have site regular main. Let's open that and go back to the www folder. Now, where do we extract this? We do have some assets installed and all of that. Let's copy the whole thing, the whole folder as it is in the www folder, like this, just like that. And we're going to close this one, go back to the local host, the installation installation page of ProcessWire, and if we hit refresh here, we're going to see now regular UIKit 3.x site block profile. So we have installed it correctly, basically just copied it. We click on that and we do have here an example here, regular blog and all of that. Let's hit on continue, and here is going to do a compatibility check. Now in the compatibility check, you do have to have all of those installed. Hopefully they're installed with WampServer and the CV redistributables. But if you don't have any of those, you can Google them, install them, and get back to this page. One more thing that you might find as well, you might find a refresh button here. It might give some error, but after you press the refresh button, it's going to sort itself out. So hopefully you have all of these installed, and you can then continue to the next step. Now, in this page, we're going to configure the database, the MySQL database. Now to do that, we need a database name. We can name it whatever we want, but to make it consistent, I'm going to name it ProcessWire. And we do have here the DB user and the DB pass. The database user that is going to connect to the database, and the database password that is going to be used for authentication. And we keep this as hostname. Now let's take a look at those, the database user and DB pass. And when we have installed the WampServer, we do have something that is called PHP MyAdmin that installs directly with WAMP. So let's go ahead and use that. We can log in into PHP MyAdmin by going to localhost-php MyAdmin. Alright, so in PHP MyAdmin, the default username is going to be root, and the default password is going to be a blank password, so no password here. We can click on login, and we have this page. Now let's add a user account by going to user accounts. This user account is going to be exclusively for ProcessWire. Let's go here and add a new user account and name it ProcessWire. The host name is we're going to leave it as that because it's going to be localhost. And the password, let's type in a strong password. Let's say administrator. Okay. The authentication type cached SHA2. And if we scroll down, we do have here the global privileges. Now let's grant it all the privileges for the database. Now we're done here, so we can click on go. Okay, and we do have this success message that you have added a new user. Let's go back to user accounts, and we can see it here, ProcessWire and all privileges with a password. Now the root does not have a password, so yeah, we can use this one. And this is more we're more organized like this because we see what we have, what this user have what changes have this user done to the database. Now let's go back to the ProcessWire installer. We can go with the DB user as ProcessWire. The password is going to be administrator, the one we just set up. And for the connection, we can leave it as host name. Now the DB host is going to be a local host. The port we'll leave it as it is, 3306. That is used for MySQL. And the DB car set, the database car set, we can set it up to the UTF-8 MB4. Now the MB4 can support more car sets than the UTF-8, like emojis. So just like to give myself more room for other things that I might be able to use in the future. So I'm going to go with the UTF-8 MB4. The engine, we're going to leave that as it is, my ISAM. Now we can choose the time zone as well. The file permissions, we'll leave it as it is as well. The HTTP host names, we're going to use the local host to connect with ProcessWire, and we can go with the debug mode enabled, and we can change that in the future. So we can turn it off and on in the future by configuring this file, which is site-config.php. We can find it here on site config.php. We can change this one, and it's going to turn on debug mode on or off. We can go to the line actually if we open it. Okay, so let's hit continue, and it said here we have this success message that we have created the database successfully, and it has imported all the files and all of that. Now we do have here one more thing, which is the admin panel. Now ProcessWire, you're going to have an admin there. The admin is going to create the pages and is going to modify them, add new things, maybe remove a page and all of that. So we need a URL to access the admin portal, the admin panel. Now when we go to localhost, like we do have here, install.php, let's say we want to log in as an admin through localhost-administrator or admin. So I'm going to put here admin because it's easier. If I leave it as ProcessWire, I'm going to go with localhost-ProcessWire, and then that is going to be my admin page, but it doesn't really make that sense. So I'm going to use it to rename it as admin. And for the admin account, I'm going to use the admin username and the password, let's say administrator as well. And the email address here is optional, so I'm going to leave it as blank. Now with the cleanup, I wanted to remove any unnecessary files like the install PHP and all of that. So I'm going to leave the cleanup section as it is. Click on continue, and let's see what happens. All right, excellent. So we do have here admin account saved success message, and I think we're done. Yes, we're done here. So we can either view the site. Let's view the site that we do have. This is the regular website that it has created for us. This is the stock site, which is we can see on localhost. And if we go to the login to admin, it's going to take us to this URL, localhost-admin. Now we can use here the admin username and the administrator password and log into the admin page. Now, just to be clear, this one, the admin and the administrator username and password, are not with the are not associated with phpMyAdmin. We're done with this basically. So this one is only for ProcessWire. It's completely different. Let's go to login, and here we do have the main admin page on ProcessWire. Okay, so that's basically how you install ProcessWire using WampServer on Windows. Now, I won't dive into details on using ProcessWire because it's a world on its own, and the real fun begins once you explore and learn more on your own by checking online resources, reading the docs, and that's the best way to learn. Now, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you have learned something new today, and see you in the next one.